Hi, hello and welcome back to F1 Challenge VB. My name is Mephisto and our journey through the history of Formula 1 continues today with the 11th and final round of the 1969 season, the Mexican Grand Prix. And before we begin, I'd like to apologize, but this video is going to be a little bit longer than usual because, well, that's how things turned out to be. So, without further ado, let's move on. The Mexican Grand Prix was held on the 19th of October. It had 17 entries, 16 of them took part in the race, with 5 ending up retiring. The race was held over 65 laps and was completed in 1 hour, 54 minutes and 8 seconds. Brabham started the race from pole with Higgs in second, Stewart third, Holm fourth, Siffert started from 5th but retired on lap 5 after suffering an accident, and Rindt started the race from 6th but retired on lap 22 with a broken suspension. After a fantastic drive, Holm moved from 4th into the lead and won the Mexican Grand Prix from Higgs, who crossed the line 2.56 seconds after Holm. Brabham dropped from the lead into 3rd and crossed the line 38.48 seconds after Holm. Stewart lost 1 place and finished 4th, he was 47.04 seconds behind. Beltois moved up from 8th into 5th, he was 1 minute 38.52 seconds behind. And Jackie Oliver, who started the race from 12th, rounded off the top 6, he was 2 laps down. The fastest man of the race was Jackie Hicks, who posted a time of 1 minute 43.05 seconds on lap 64. Welcome to the awesome Hermanos Rodriguez circuit, where a lap starts off with a very long run down into turn 1, a medium speed right-hander that leads into turns 2 and 3, which form a tight right-left chicane. Next up are turns 4 and 5, they form a tight left-right chicane. Be aware as the right-hander is tighter than the left. Turn 6 is up next, a very tight banked 180-degree hairpin. This is followed by turns 7 and 8. They form a medium speed left-right chicane, which takes us into turn 9, a medium speed left-hander that takes us through a series of S's. This ends with turn 13, and lastly we come through turn 14, the final corner of the track, a fast 180-degree banked right-hander that brings us around onto the main straight, and that is a lap around the Hermanos Rodriguez circuit. And here we are in qualifying, coming around to set our first qualifying lap, a 1:49.009, which isn't all that good. At the moment that would put us in P7, although that's obviously just provisional hope. But let's see if we can improve on that. Apparently we cannot. This lap was almost 0.6 of a second slower. However, something happened. I'm not sure what I hit there, but that caused my car to pretty much jump into the air, and then I lost control of the car. Hit some other cars that were at the side of the road, and that's pretty much it for our qualifying. And the FIA were kind enough to bring a few cars out of retirement, and before the race we are going to drive Andy's very first F1 car, the ERA Type 15, around the Mexican Grand Prix. So this is quite nice. This was quite nice of the FIA to bring the car out of the museum and allow Andy to, you know, drive it for one last time before he ends his Formula 1 career. You know, it's been a very long 20 seasons, and he's done very well, so I think he deserves something like this. He deserves to get a taste for what it was like back when he was only 20 years old and was starting out in Formula 1. Compared to, you know, the cars he's driving now, or has been driving in the past couple of seasons, which are obviously much faster. And there, just at the start, you've seen kind of Andy's first Grand Prix achievements and final Grand Prix achievements, although I think that I kind of spoiled the end of the a race for you today. Although, you know what, I think I'm going to not show you that. I'm going to put that at the end of the race, because there's going to be another car we will be able to drive at the end of the race. So I'm going to put that part there. So no spoilers. ignore what I just said. Nothing's been spoiled. Because you won't see what the spoilage is about. Spoilage, is that even a word? Anyway, yeah, these were 20 long years, and it's been quite nice. It's been obviously good for Andy. He done very well. He won 8, or well, rather 9 championships since we won the 1969 championship in the last race, so that's quite nice. 9 championships and 49 Grand Prix wins. Hopefully we'll get a 50th. And here are all the sort of achievements, I guess, on a race per race basis. Obviously some of our most successful races are the British and US Grand Prix, where we won 7 times, and there are a handful of races where we were not able to win a single race. Anyway, let's move on to the race itself, and here are the previous Mexican Grand Prix winners. Obviously we haven't won here yet, so who knows, maybe this will be a good time to start winning. Hopefully we'll be able to. As we take a look at the lineup, and we have Higgs on pole with Trinity in 2nd, Denny Holm 3rd, 4th, Jean-Pierre Beltois 5th, Bruce McLaren 6th, John Love. And then in 7th we have Joe Bonnier, followed by Pedro Rodriguez in 8th. 9th is Vic Alford, George Eaton starting from 10th. Then in 11th we have Andy Hicks, so starting quite far back from the middle of the pack, but hopefully we'll do well. 12th is Jackie Stewart, followed by Mario Andretti in 13th. 14th, Pierce Carriage. 15th, Joe Seffert. Jack Brabham is 16th. 17th, Graham Hill. Chris Amon starting from 18th. 19th, John Surtees. Van Rooyen 20th. Then in 21st we have Jackie Oliver, followed by Silvio Moser in 22nd. 23rd, Sam Tingle. 24th, Peter de Klerk. 25th, John Courts. 26th, Al Pease. 27th, Johnny Servos Gavin, and Derek Bell starting from 28th. And it's quite interesting to see a Matra starting from so far behind, since, well, they've been doing quite well this season, and actually they should be doing even better. But anyway, here we are at the start of the Mexican Grand Prix, our last race of the season and Andy's final career race, so hopefully things will turn out well. Obviously winning here would be very good, because we would be able to complete our challenge of winning 50 Grand Prix during his career, but we'll have to wait and see how things pan out. And that was a pretty decent start. We managed to climb up quite a few positions. We are now in P6, but as we come into turn 1 here, I had to kind of hold back and let McLaren through, so we dropped down to P7 as we take a look at a replay of the start. I light up the tires as we start, and we're doing quite well, I guess. I mean, it's still just the start of the race, and gaining a few positions is always very, very nice as we rush towards turn 1 here once again and lose that position to McLaren. But again, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to regain that as we come through turn 6 here, and Pedro Rodriguez moved through the inside of us and manages to overtake us, so we drop down to P8. Can we overtake him again? Yes, we can. As we come into turn 7 here, we move up into P7 once again. Then towards the end of lap 1, I catch up to John Love and move on up into P6. Can we overtake McLaren as well? No, not quite, not yet at least. So we are stuck in P6 for the moment. However, as we start lap 2, we managed to get around Bruce McLaren as well, so that is P5, doing very, very well. Can we overtake Jochen Rindt? No, we cannot. So we just hold back for the time being and wait for a better opportunity. Still lap 2, and we finally managed to get around Jochen Rindt. However, he then outbrakes us coming into turn 6, but then I move the car on the inside there, make a move on the inside, and that's P4 done. Next up is Denny Holm, who is right in front of us. Can we overtake him as well? Yes, we can. So that's P3, moving up the field very, very quickly here. However, I kind of go wide out of that corner and have to let Denny Holm back in front as we take a look at a replay of George Eaton, who is coming into the pits to retire for whatever reason. There's no particular reason for his retirement, so okay, whatever, that is the end of Ethan's Mexican Grand Prix. We now move on to lap 3. As we catch up to Denny Holm, we move up into 3rd. We get past Jackie X as well, and that's P2, only Beltois sitting between us and a potential win here at the Mexican Grand Prix. Can we do it though? That's the big question, and we will definitely try. Coming around to start lap 4 here, and we overtake Pierre Beltois for the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix, which is very, very nice. But can we hold on to this? That's an even bigger question. Obviously, that's what's going to be the big question, as we lose the lead to Pierre Beltois coming through turns 2 and 3 there. But immediately I managed to overtake him once again, so we move back up into the lead for the moment at least. But then I kind of cut the track, so I had to let Beltois through once again, which means we drop back down to 2nd. But I'm sure we'll be able to get past him once again as we try and make a lunge into turn 6 here, and that's P1 once again. So a little bit of a ding-dong battle with Jean-Pierre Beltois here on lap 4. Hopefully this time we'll be able to stay in front of him, as we now move on to lap 5, and we are pulling away from Beltois at this point. The gap is about 1 second to him, so you know, a small mistake and he could still get in front. But let's try and focus and try to keep him behind us, as we take a look at a replay of Pedro Rodriguez in the Ferrari coming into the pits to retire. Apparently he has a broken gear. He's stuck in 3rd gear, so that's a gearbox problem. As we come around to start lap 9, and once again I hit something on a very flat road that causes the car to go out of control, and I lose the lead of the race to Jean-Pierre Beltois. I'm not sure what. That shouldn't happen. There's really no reason for that to happen, but for some reason it did. And as Jochen Rindt gets around us, we drop down to P3, but only for a fraction of a second as we regain that position. But it is going to be a very tough fight to get back into the lead now, so we have to focus and try to not make any mistakes. Lap 10 now, starting to catch up to Beltois, although it's still a very, very tough battle as we start lap 11 now. And we have a replay of Chris Amon coming into the pits as well to retire, also because of a gearbox problem. So that's both of the Ferraris out of the race for the same reason within 5 laps. So they should really look into what they're doing. Anyway, here is Andy coming around to set the fastest lap of the race, as he's starting lap 11 there. And we're now moving on to lap 12, and we catch up to Jean-Pierre Beltois, who is having problems getting around traffic. So we managed to move back into the lead of the race, and from now on no more mistakes. This is it. We have to try and stay in the lead for whatever cost. We now move on to lap 13, and we are pulling away from Beltois now. The gap is 2 seconds, so doing quite well. Obviously we need to increase that gap as much as possible, as we take a look at a replay of Jackie Oliver, who cuts across the track there and then apparently has a problem with his brakes. So that's probably why he cut across the track. He pulls to the side, and that is the end of his race. We're moving now on to lap 15, and the gap to Beltois is 6 seconds now, so we are pulling away quite nicely. And Andy's obviously very focused, trying not to lose control of the car once again, as we see Van Rooyen coming into the pits with a gearbox problem. So that is the end of his Mexican Grand Prix, which is quite unfortunate for him. And we have a replay of Peter de Klerk as well coming through out of that right-hander, and his engine bursts into flames as he's approaching turn 6 there. And that is the end of his Mexican Grand Prix on lap 15. And here we are on lap 22, coming around to take the win of the Mexican Grand Prix. That's an absolutely fantastic finish. This means that Volkswagen win their first championship. Anyway, Beltois finishes second, Holm third, fourth, Jochen Rindt, fifth, Higgs, and Jackie Joe Siffert finishes sixth. Here are the other people who managed to finish the race. We obviously managed to set the fastest lap of the race as well, and here are the retirements. Only 6 people retired from the race, which is quite good. But that was an absolutely fantastic finish, and with that, we actually managed to achieve our goal of winning 50 Grand Prix during the course of Andy's career, which is absolutely fantastic. Very, very happy about that, and very, very happy about the results overall. This was a long time coming, and I'm very happy that we managed to pull this off. So yeah, anyway, let's move on. And here are the career statistics. This was Andy's 184th Grand Prix. His best start is from first, has 17 pole positions, has set 35 fastest laps. His best finishes in first, has completed 111 races, 87 of them in the points, has won 50 Grand Prix, 4 at the Indianapolis 500, 6 in Monaco, has 9 championships under his belt, has scored a total of 589 points, has retired 73 times, has experienced 3,823 out of 4,776 laps, has 8 bronze trophies, 17 silver trophies, 50 gold trophies, and as an extension, 50 podiums. And before we move on, the FIA brought out another car for Andy to drive around the Mexican Grand Prix for one last time. This is the BRM in which Andy won his very first championship back in 1951, so it's quite an honor to be back in this car as well. And thanks to the FIA for allowing us to drive these, by this point, very old cars. So that's very, very nice of them. And we just saw Andy Higgs's achievements. Andy Higgs's first and last achievement, to put it that way. This is the part that I decided to not show you at the beginning of the race, because that would have spoiled the result of the Mexican Grand Prix. So yeah, but this is absolutely fantastic. It's been 20 long years, and we managed to do, or rather Andy managed to do a very I cannot talk. Andy managed to have a very successful Grand Prix career, so that's nothing to scoff at. I wouldn't say. He won 50 Grand Prix finally, quite luckily, really, because again, I'm not sure what happened there at the start of lap 9 there, but that could have destroyed the race completely, and well, Andy would have still won the Drivers' Championship, but this way he also won the Constructors' Championship, which is obviously very good. But on the whole, it's going to be quite sad to see Andy go, but you know, it had to happen eventually, so hey, we had fun with him. We had fun. I really cannot talk today. We had fun while it lasted, but now it is time for Andy's son to pick up the reins, and we'll definitely be looking forward to see how his son will fare in the coming seasons. And as Andy is coming around to finish his lap in his old BRM P15. So that was quite a nice little drive, and here are all the cars Andy has driven in throughout his career. So that's quite nice. He's driven twice in the same Ferrari, so in 52 and 53, that's why I only showed the model once. And after that nice little lap in the old BRM, here are the championship standings, and Andy Higgs indeed wins the 1969 Drivers' Championship, with Jackie X finishing a solid second, Stewart and Beltois sharing third, fifth McLaren, Surtees sixth. The last person with points is Mario Andretti down in 21st, and bringing up the bottom of the driver standings is Richard Atwood down in 31st. So those are the drivers. Let's now move on to the constructors. Where we have Pete Lovely Volkswagen Incorporated winning the Constructors' Championship, with Brabham in second, Matra International finishing third, fourth Bruce McLaren Motor Racing fifth, Owen Racing Organization, Gold Leaf Team Lotus finished sixth. The last team with points are Ecurie Bonnier in 11th, and bringing up the bottom of the Constructors' standings are Rec Parnell Racing down in 18th. So that was the Mexican Grand Prix, and that was the 1969 season, an absolutely fantastic finish for both Andy and Volkswagen. So I'm very pleased, and I'm very happy that we managed to achieve all of these records, should I say. And before we get to see the team and driver changes, we have a little interview by Tony Jardine. Don't ask me how, because Tony Jardine in 1969 would be about 15-16 years old, but let's just say that he transcends time somehow, and he's come to take a short interview with Andy Higgs. So let's hear what the interview has to say.
Absolutely fantastic. I mean, you know, we all worked really hard to try and achieve this. It took 20 years to get to this point, and we definitely all are very happy that we managed to get to this point. Obviously, the team is also happy for having their first World Championship one as well, so that we are all good on that point. And in the end, it all paid off, so that's all good, and obviously we are very happy, myself and the team included. Well, you cannot actually plan for something like this, at least not in motorsports, or at least not in Formula 1. There are so many factors that can play into how things go throughout the season that you cannot really plan for winning or even losing. I mean, one day you're doing fine, then on the next weekend you're struggling to find the right balance for your car. So yeah, you cannot really plan for something like this. Absolutely. I mean, as I just said, these things cannot be planned from the beginning. You cannot go there and say, okay, I want to win the season, I want to win the championship this time, because there are so many factors that play into this. And definitely towards the second half of the season, there were a few times when we didn't do all that well, so there was quite a big concern that I might not win the championship, but in the end it all worked out, so you know, we're all very happy. You know, once again, it was a team effort. It took 20 years to achieve this, and I've changed many teams. They all worked hard to achieving all of these goals, and winning 50 Grand Prix is definitely a big accomplishment. So yes, in short, I'm quite happy about the result. Okay, go ahead. No, it's not. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of talent out on the grid, and looking at Formula 2 and Formula 3, there is more talent coming down the pipeline, so I'm almost certain that there will be at some point someone who might be able to break this record. I mean, you know, I'm going to miss it, probably. It's certainly a different lifestyle from what most people experience. Being always on the road, always training, always trying to find a way to get the edge in the race, and that's what the past 20 years were for me. So yes, I'm going to miss it, but at the same time, it's going to be a nice retirement. I would say that I accomplished quite a lot in my 20 years, so you know, let's just say that I'm quite happy that it's finally over. Well, no, not quite. This is not quite the end of my career. I'm still going to race here and there. I am actually planning to join the 24 Hours of Le Mans next season. I'm not sure what will come out of it. I would like to win. My son almost won that, so it would be nice if I could come anywhere near his achievement. He finished second, so that would be quite nice. But other than that, I might join the World Sports Car Championship. That would be quite nice. I did get a couple of requests from a few teams, so expect to see me in a different series for a few more seasons. Oh yes, well, obviously I will cheer him on. He cheered me on, so it would only make sense for me to cheer him on now that he's taking on Formula 1, the biggest racing event of the racing calendar. So yes, I will be cheering him on. Well, I will try to be as active and as involved in his training as possible. But Formula 1 is such a rapidly changing sport. I mean, only in the past 3 years we've seen the cars go from no wings to wings, and these cars handle so much differently from the cars I started off with in the 50s. And even if we talk to later years, mid-60s, even compared to those, these newer cars feel completely different, and there are many big changes coming in the future. So I will try to get as involved as possible, but I don't think my expertise will hold up for much longer, seeing how rapidly the sport is changing. Yeah, I would do it all over again. I mean, as I said, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed these 20 years, and even if I would knew that the outcome would be different, I would still join Formula 1, and I would still drive for as long as possible, because again, I really did enjoy all these 20 years. But now it is time to let someone else to take my place, and us old folk need to give way to the younger folk so they can enjoy this amazing sport. Thank you.
And before we wrap things up, let's have a look at the team and driver changes for the 1970 Formula 1 season. And we'll start as usual with Ferrari. They will have a completely new lineup with Jackie Hicks and rookies Clay Regazzoni and Ignazio Giunti. Although there are rumors that Andy Higgs' son might join the Maranello team, in which case Giunti will be left on the sidelines, whilst Chris Amon together with former RRC Walker driver Siffert will be joining the newly formed March Engineering team. Over at Lotus, only Rindt will stay from the current lineup, with Graham Hill moving to Brook Bond Octo Rob Walker Racing Team, and Mario Andretti joining the newly formed STP Corporation. Rindt will be joined at Lotus by John Miles and rookies René Weissel and Emerson Fittipaldi. McLaren will mostly have the same composition, with McLaren himself continuing to drive for his team together with Denny Hulme. They will be joined by newcomers Andrea De Adamic and Peter Gessen, as well as returning Dan Gurney, who decided to take a small break from Indy racing, whilst former McLaren driver Bell will be joining the newly formed Tom Wheatcroft Racing Team. Matra International will be renamed into Equipe Matra Elf, and their lineup will consist of Jean-Pierre Beltois and Henri Pescarolo, with Gavin taking leave from the sport and Jackie Stewart joining the newly formed Tyrrell Racing Organization, where he will be joined by rookie Frenchman Francois Sever. Over at Owen Racing, only Jackie Oliver will remain from the current lineup, with Bill Bragg leaving the sport and Surtees going on to form his own team under the Team Surtees name. Oliver will be joined by Pedro Rodriguez, who was left without a drive when Rick Parnell decided to retire the team. They will also be joined by rookie George Eaton. Frank Williams will be joining us once again in 1970. He decided to drop Pierce Courage in favor of rookie Tim Schenken. Colin Crabbe Antique Automobiles will be renamed into Colin Crabbe Racing, and their driver will be Ronnie Peterson, with Vic Elford leaving the sport. Brabham will be back for yet another season in Formula 1. However, this time he will be driving for his team alone. Team Gunston will be back as well. They will have former Jack Holm driver Peter de Klerk, whilst John Love and Sam Tingle will be missing from the grid. Silvio Moser will also be returning in 1970, and once again he will be the only driver in his team. Pete Lovely Volkswagen are returning as well, with Pete Lovely himself behind the wheel this time. We will have one more new team joining us in 1970, and that team is Auto Motor und Sport, with Rolf Stommelen as their driver. And sadly, there will be a handful of teams that will not be returning next season, nor will their drivers. And they are, in no particular order, Écurie Bonnier with Bonnier himself, Team Lawson with Van Rooyen, Paul Seitz with John Quartz, and John Marion F1 team with Al Pease. So those are the team and driver changes for the coming season, and as always, it is going to be interesting to see what roles the new teams and drivers will play. Obviously, with such massive changes to the rostrum, the dynamics of racing will also change to some degree. I'm looking forward to seeing what the new season has to offer, and I'm looking forward to meeting Andy's son. Hopefully he's going to be every bit as good as his father, but even if he is not, I'm sure we'll have lots of fun for the next 20 seasons. Anyway, that is it for this video. As always, I will give you guys a few more hours after uploading this video to vote for next season's team and to vote for a name for Andy's son. Don't forget about that. As always, links are in the description, and with that, we say goodbye to the 1969 season and to Andy's amazing 20-year career. It was a lot of fun, there were some ups and downs, but ultimately I enjoyed spending time with this fictional Formula 1 driver. And I hope you did as well. Oh, and before I forget, I'm sure that some of you are expecting me to do a look back into Andy's career and make a highlights video of what happened during these 20 seasons. Unfortunately, I am not able to do that. Some of you might remember back in May I had a little accident where I unintentionally deleted pretty much every single video from my computer, and that means that the only footage I have of Andy is from around midway through the 1965 season, so that's less than 5 seasons worth of footage. Obviously that's not going to cut it. If I were to do it, I would like to have all the seasons, but I no longer have that, so unfortunately there will be no highlights video of Andy's career. This is obviously going to be a disappointment for everyone. It is quite a disappointment for me as well, but unfortunately I cannot do anything about it at this point. And before you say that I could download the videos from YouTube and use those, I will not do that because YouTube compresses the videos too much as it is, and the video quality once the videos are uploaded is pretty much half of the quality in the videos I already have on my hard drive. So if I were to download them and then re-upload them, YouTube would compress the videos even further and they would pretty much be unwatchable, at least the parts that would be downloaded. So yeah, no career highlights unfortunately. I'm really sorry about this, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. So yeah. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed these past 20 seasons. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, stay sharp.